And you're doing that just by simply hitting full counter and spamming it, right? In addition to that, you gain the resistance that comes from it too. So that's why I'm trying to say to you guys is it's very, very important. If you're running a full support spellbreaker like this, you're helping your party as well. Because um, the things that's really, really important is yes, you're stripping, but you're also helping your party survive, right? So you're coming alongside your scrapper, right? For not your scrapper, your for cleanses, you are helping your party cleanse as well. You're also doing strips, which basically is coming alongside some of your scourges if that's their function, and that's what the way your builds are. Um, so you're coming alongside that, and that's an addition too, right? So that you shouldn't be the number one on the meter with strips. You should come alongside as support elements like it's built, and that's where you turn your damage classes into rock stars. I mean, that's the whole key. So the reason why you continually spam those things too is because guess what? There's times where I've made a grave error, big mistake, and I've gone too deep, right? So I'm counting on breaking enchantments and my F2 or full counter to get me out of there as rally, right? Because I can hit. Remember, if the way that it works is the more that it fills up, right? It keeps getting plus 7% damage for 15 seconds, right? You're doing that for your whole party. So your whole party gets 7% damage. Your increases jump by 20%, and your condies copied are 3 times. So I think that's really interesting come alongside, along with the extra damage that your damage reduction of 100%. So it's really important that you just continue to spam that damn button. As it comes up, you use it no matter what, because you're counting first off, if you're in a bad spot, you've gone too deep, oh shit, I've screwed up. You're counting on your rock stars to kill anyone that you've already hit that with so that you can rally, okay? That's really imperative. So the more damage you do, the more stripping you do. I know it sounds funny, but the more stripping that you do, basically, it not only helps your team, but it is going to help you too. So it's kind of a self-serving deal as well. Um, Another big aspect, obviously, I'll just link it, is Earthshaker, right? So you're going to say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Well, when you're basically trying to emob, right? So if you're chasing people and they realize, oh shit, we're losing half of our crew, I'm going to start running, right? The emobs off that thing will be unbelievable. And so if you can just hold people down for another second, let your damage dealers catch up, right? Because scourges are pretty damn slow unless they don't have super speed. Um, so you're constantly hitting that as well. So your F1, F2. So you're constantly working that in motion too. But the important part for you to note is the number of targets that does. Okay, look what that does. It gives adrenaline, berserker power, in different stages, right? For 15 seconds, plus 21, plus 14%, plus 7%. All of those little bonuses all go to your parties. I mean, that's where things are starting to add up as that's what the support aspect comes in mind. You can say, hey, I'm going to run DPS. I'm going to do this. And I want to be on the, arc DPS. So everyone looks, hey, look at me. I'm a god. Well, that's great. But your whole party's dead. Was it worth it? No, I don't think so. But I mean, that's kind of how you want to look at it. So also, I'm going to say something that probably maybe people know, maybe they don't. Um, your Warhorn 5. Let me see if I can get it done here. Your Call to Valor. There's something that you should really, really pay attention. Okay, when you have somebody dropped and you fired a signet in them, right? There's only a certain amount of time before they're going to drop again, right? So my point to all that is, if you'll use the Call of Valor as a warrior around your party or near that person, what you're doing is you're also providing a 4,000 life barrier around them, or 3,831 to be exact, barrier on that person. So you're giving them additional life, so you don't have to constantly res, right? So long. And another trick that you can do also, and illusion. I'm sorry, not signet. My bad. I think you understood. I'm just probably a little kind of just trying to not. It's weird talking to yourself when no one's talking back. So, um, so that's kind of the gist of it. That barrier is a huge help. So you don't have to power res or in the middle of a fight or something along those lines. Now, one of the things that we do, if you're going to play Ellie, just know that you're going to get hit, and you better be floating back to us, right, for the res. So I don't really help out Ellies very much because they have the ability to get out even when they're downed. So, but the rest of your crew, yeah, Bully, you can speak up anytime you want. That'd be great, man. I mean, please don't feel like this is my show, because I'm just here to help. And so that's kind of how I want to look at it. And if Bully, if you'd like to add, you can. Go right ahead.
Sure. Yes. So let's clarify a couple things. So, as a support warrior, your job is very critical to how this comp works. So like Bull alluded to, if you guys don't know, I'm sure you guys run mesmers with illusion. Maybe no.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone knows the trick around having a barrier for your illusion, so they don't die.
I actually didn't know that the barrier worked that way. I know that you can sort of they can mount, or
they could mount, or you drop a barrier. So if your Spellbreaker drops a Warhorn, it'll provide a barrier for your squad, and that barrier will keep them alive versus dying on illusion and then trying to get rezzed.
Okay. We were actually debating whether the sort of the skills that transform damage into healing would have the same effect.
Yeah, we do it all the time. So if you use your Warhorn and use the Call of Valor, when that illusion gets
the damage only goes towards the barrier.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So that barrier is what's going to be a make or break, because if that illusion drops, well, someone's going to have to res that person, and if you're in the middle of a fight, you can't do it. So the best way of doing it is the Spellbreaker drops their Warhorn, and once they blow the Warhorn, it'll provide that barrier, and that barrier, because you need your Scourges to be stripping and not worry about rezzing people. So that's where your Spellbreakers kick in. So once you do that, you'll cast resistance for that person, and then you'll also provide that barrier so they don't die, and that's going to remove Condi.
Can have that role too then.
They could if they need to.
Okay.
But they should be focusing on damage. Your Spellbreakers are your support. On top of that, to add on what Bull was talking about, as a melee heavy guild, I don't know how you guys run. You guys might run heavy melee. I'm not sure.
Let's just say you would be a little passive for our group right now.
Sure.
I'm just kidding.
It's fine. Everyone has their own style. So I just want to make sure.
We are pretty much melee, and I tend to be aggressive too.
Sure. So it's extremely important. So I'm going to put markers, and we're going to be talking about like how important it is for positioning purposes. So as a Spellbreaker, positioning is the key. So if you're going to go melee heavy like we do, I'm going to have for every 20 people, I'm going to have at least 3 to 4 Spellbreakers. If it's done right, you'll never lose a fight. Well, you'll lose some fights if you're outnumbered, but the majority of the time, if your damage is on point, it's really hard to lose a fight. So if the Zerg is on green arrow, as a Spellbreaker, you should be focusing on going either to the left or to the right. But you should never go head on with a Zerg as a Spellbreaker, because positioning is the key. So when you're positioning as a Spellbreaker, that leaping function, the Savage Leap, you should be leaping, and in this case, we're going to leap to heart. You should be leaping to heart to get a head start on there. So when I leap to heart, I should be focusing on placing my first wins. Now, depending on your commander, if they're pushing forward, then you want to stay in the front line, but either left or right of the damage. If you're going to push the group, and they're going to backpedal, which most guilds do, they backpedal. You want to position yourself either left or right, but you want to position yourself on the backpedal where they run into that. When that happens, that Spellbreaker is going to do a couple things, right? First, they're going to go ahead and CC in there and strip their boons, because once you CC and do a knockback, that gives me as a commander time to pull and finish the lockdown. Because in that bubble, once those boons are stripped, they're pretty much SOL. So as a Spellbreaker, survivability is the key, but you're responsible for popping that wins and stripping their boons inside that bubble. Once that's done, you get the hell out of there and go get healed up, because it's going to be a slobber knocker. So because you're going to be in the middle of that. So again, the exit route then is you take a leap back, either left or right, to get back to the commander, but you don't want to go head on. Once you provide those strips, and do your, I think, what is it, the Earthshaker, the CC, the knockback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do the knockback, and then you get your ass back to tag, because that'll give me time to go into that bubble and immob everybody in there or do pulls. It is critical to do that. If you don't do it, it'll never work, because if you pop that wins and they're backpedaling and they're not CC'd or immobed, they're just going to run right through it or dodge out of it. So super important. So you pop your wins, you strip their boons, and then you do the knockback. That gives your commander enough time to pull in a bubble and everyone drop their mobs, and then you just drop your rev spikes, and then pretty much over. Now, if they're backpedaling, you want to chain your bubbles. So depending on how many spellbreakers you have, it's going to vary, right? We like to do ours teams of 2. So 2 spellbreakers at a time. So if they're backpedaling, for example, and let's say you go to the left, you need to coordinate with your other spellbreaker, because one should be going to the left, one should be going to the right. You don't want to go in the same direction, because if they spot one of you guys, they're going to spike you. And if you both are together, well, you both are going to die, and you just lost 2 wins. So always coordinate with your fellow spellbreaker and get that shit in order. Once you do that, if they do backpedal, you'll just chain your wins. So I like, in our guild, whatever order you're in, that's your order of wins. So we'll have squad 1 and 2 as a team, squad 3 and 4 as a team, and so forth. You can do it however you want, but I would recommend, if you're gonna do that, chaining it is the best, because they're going to be backpedaling into a bubble. If you get them into a corner, well, it's over. If they're getting too aggressive and they come at you, then you put up a defensive bubble, and that wins will go here, and then you backpedal. So if you're backpedaling, you find yourself backpedaling, then you chain the wins backwards. By doing that, it keeps them in a bubble or it makes them disengage. So it gives you time to recoup. So in the event, let's say you're fighting Indo, like I like to do all the time. Indo, when he pushes hard, I'll drop wins and chain 3 of them backwards, and he'll run into it, and then we'll counter, and then we'll wipe his blob. That happened to us. Was that last night or night before?
Night before.
I think it was the night before. He got over aggressive, and he plays very, very passive. But he got over aggressive and started to push us. I had 6 Spellbreakers, and all I did was just a direct line chain. And then all he could do was walk into a bunch of wins and have no boons and just got obliterated. That's the key. Or he backpedaled, and I did the same thing. So again, it's a very easy movement, but the key is positioning. You have to be aware of your surroundings as a Spellbreaker. Super important. What else am I missing?
There's small elements that I haven't kind of discussed yet, but I wanted to kind of just talk about it real quick. So
I think he just DC'd.
Oh, did he? Was that him?
Maybe. I think so.
Yeah.
I just want to ask, so you guys run sword, warhorn, and hammer? And
yes.
What's the gear? Minstrel?
Here, let me pull it up. I have it here. It is minstrel. Yes, all minstrel. And then durability runes.
Post it in the builds channel, like the public builds channel.
Sure. Let me get the quick link. Copy. Public build.
Or you can put it in the private one as well, if you prefer. If you don't want it to share widely.
I could care less.
Okay. He says he got kicked out of the Discord.
Oh boy.
He got kicked out of the Discord? Wait, what?
Your bot went Skynet on him.
It sure did.
It's a bit of hold on. Damn, I don't have to send him the invite to the server again.
I'll do it right now. That's hilarious.
It's a thing, like the bot is like that. If you give a manual roll, it will eventually kick you because it hasn't given it to you itself. It really
That's hilarious.
Yeah, there he is. All right.
It gets mighty moody.
That's hilarious. It's working. Hey, Skynet kicked you out, brother.
If you wanted to get rid of me, just say fucking leave.
Our bot is very petulant.
That's hilarious.
God. It's like, hey, right in middle sentence. Hey, fucker, you're out of here.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
All right.
so
real quick.
Go ahead, Bill.
So I want you guys really kind of pay attention to this. So a lot of people think, I don't need to use my heals, right? My support's going to take care of me. I want you to kind of pay attention to what that does. So look what that actually does, right? So for your group of 5, up to 5 targets. So your party, that's the primary kicker here, is you're gaining endurance gain of 100 plus 100, and adrenaline of 30. So make sure you understand that, because every time you heal, you're doing that for your party. So that kind of helps reset everything for you, right? And so these are just some of the small things that I kind of wanted you guys to kind of see. So you have 2 charges of Shake It Off. It removes 4 conditions, but you have 2 charges, right? So there you go. So up to 5 targets, 4 conditions times 2. All right. So and plus it comes with a stun break just by you hitting buttons. I mean, that's kind of the whole premise of, don't just look at it as it's just a healing aspect, and I only need that when I'm in trouble. Well, they'll come up, as you're running and moving in and out of Zergs. It's important to note, because there's some people that, hey, they forgot the dodge roll, they don't have as many dodge rolls, or maybe they're just out of energy. So it's those small things that you're kind of putting into your team, not just you, but the rest of your team. And if your team is not within the radius, then it's the 5 closest people. Just kind of remember that. Those are just small things that I've kind of learned through the multiple years of playing Warrior, and as this build itself has changed since POF's come out. That's kind of some of the basic things that I've kind of learned that really kind of helps. And they're kind of unsung heroes that kind of come about. So that's pretty much the whole crux of it there.
Yeah, I'll go over a couple of things. So just when you guys look at the build, understand, because I know a lot of you guys are thinking, oh man, I want to go DPS. So if you go DPS, you guys usually run what, 30-ish, maybe 35, depending on what day it is, right? I'm assuming?
Yeah, about there.
Yeah, so you don't want to go DPS Spellbreaker, and I'll tell you why. And if you're going to try to pop a wins as a DPS, you're going to probably be Berserkers or Marauders. Survivability is very, 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 very small, unless you're really good Spellbreaker. It's good for GVG, but it's not good for open field, Zerg busting, or Zerg versus Zerg. The key here is survivability. And with the support Spellbreaker, it provides more sustain for your squads. So when you're down, let's say you're down a Scrapper, Spellbreaker is a good alternative. It's not the best, don't get me wrong, it's not the best by no means, but it's something, because it can still cleanse and provide support, barriers, and so forth. It is by no means a replacement, or even in that realm of clearing Condi. But when it shit hits the fan, it can provide a decent heal, it can provide stability for yourself, and it can strip some goddamn boons. But again,
I'm class lead for hate for Warriors. But let me say this to you: what the hell? So we have some of our Warriors do run DPS, but it's kind of a mix, right? So it's imperative, because if you're too heavy on one side, if you're running DPS, your guys looking for the meters, right? And people that I trust, and they proved, hey, if you get one pushed, it's real simple. You need to go on something support, because you damn sure can't. If it's not survivable, it doesn't matter how much damage you're doing. You're only going to do it for a split second before you die. And the more that you kind of get focused, because guess what? You're looking for Warriors coming in to drop a bubble on you. You know it's coming too. And guess what? And likewise, they're doing the same. They're going to be looking for the same for you guys. So that it kind of works both ways. So that was just what I wanted to add. And so you can have a combination of both, but you don't want all on one side of the scale. We do have a Berserker build that we run, where it runs a battle standard. Not many people use that at all, because what happens is we're constantly rezzing guys, and you get to the point, because this build has no range, 0 range. All siege Warriors take, because everybody else has range. So it's imperative that you don't take away any more, guns off the site, right, off the battlefield. Whereas, hey, I don't even have, I've got a sword and I've got a warhorn, and I've got a hammer. It doesn't really do me any good to do anything, get on a ram or a kata or something along those lines. This way, all of your ranged DPS can cover your back, right? Taking out a wall, you're trying to just bait a fight out where you're like, hey, I'm not here to cap anything. I just want you to come out and fight instead of fighting under arrow carts. Understood. We hate that too. And so that's one of the things that we try to do and bring in. But I just wanted you guys to kind of be aware of that's kind of that's part of your job as well. I like how we do it in hate is, hey, that's part of your job. So that's the other thing.
Yeah. And just know, like, when you guys look at the trait line, you'll notice that the key themes on the trait line is all about CC, strips, and giving boons to your squad. There's no damage. It's when you talk about like immobes, you're gonna have it. So every time you cause some type of damage, you're causing an immobe at the same time. Or if you're adding boons to your warhorn, it's all about support. There's no increase in damage. So for some of you guys, you're probably like, hey, I'm DPS, and I just want to do DPS. I get it. It may not be the build for you. But if you want to play support or you want to be a clutch player, in my opinion, the Spellbreaker is the most important part of most Zergs. And Indo doesn't believe it, but I do. And I believe every fight is won with the right bubble. Because again, when you can get your team or your enemy into that bubble, and once you pop that wins, they're pretty much screwed for boons. Unless it could dodge roll out. And unfortunately, you can't dodge when you're immobed unless someone stun breaks you. And it's hard to stun break you if they're out of the bubble and you're not receiving it in there. And remember, when you pop that wins, it's reflecting anything going in. So it is for me and my guild, it is like the key to victory. Because if you can pop that wins at the perfect opportunity, it's a make or break for each fight. So if the wins is on point and you can get 5 to 10 people in that wins, you can cause havoc right in those bubbles. Where if you don't have Spellbreakers, well, you're going to rely on your DPS and your sustainability. The Spellbreaker takes it all away, and you just got to focus on your damage and positioning. And that's pretty much it. It makes your job easier as a DPS class and as a support class. Because the faster you can kill your enemy, the less damage you're going to take, and the better sustain you're going to have. But that Spellbreaker is going to be the make or break it. And it takes training. Like I said, just never go head on, left or right flank. You could mount engage as well. So if you're in a longer fight, for those that don't know, you could mount engage and get on a mount and hit their backline. I can't get on a mount because for some reason I'm in combat. But how would it work since I'm the tag, and if I'm a Spellbreaker, I would get on my mount and I would actually look at the fight and read the fight, and I would go behind and set the choke.
Because it's EOTM.
Yeah,
it's EOTM.
Mounts here, dude.
Yeah, I forgot. But you'd be able to set the choke. So again, as a Spellbreaker, you got to be super smart when it comes to where you drop your wins. You have to be able to read the fight. If you can't read the fight and you just yeet in there, you're gonna die. That's the reality. And we all have Spellbreakers like that. I do in my guild, and they're learning, right? But once you become pretty good at this, like Bulveith could jump on a mount, get behind you, and when I ask for that first wins, he'll pop it, and bam, there's the first 10 going down right off the bat. Because again, if you can get 10 people out, the fight's easy after that. Like, we destroyed Indo. Indo has his only thing that he can do to combat that is have revs, which is a good counter is revs. But again, it's a make or break. So depending on the guild you're fighting, and since I'm melee heavy, wins is the key to our victories. So that's pretty much all I have. Everyone knows how to read, I'm assuming. So you can look at the trait line. You'll see, again, it's all about support. The build is simple, right? It's all minstrel gear. And then you have runes of durability. Very easy. So it's all about survivability. So keeping toughness, keeping boons on your team, and providing that. Very, very simple. And then all your weapons are going to be minstrel, and then you're going to get it's almost like if you're a firebrand build, but not a firebrand. but it's the same thing. So all minstrels, all your weapons are minstrels. Same food. So you're gonna eat the support food just like for firebrand food, and that's pretty much it. Any questions out there? You guys have any anything you want to talk about? Anything in particular you need to know about the build? Anything?
I don't think it shows up though, does it? You see something?
What shows up?
It just shows up as a. It doesn't show anything, does it? Yeah. See, so but this is kind of the sigils that we run. I think you can hover over it and at least see the sigils.
Yeah, the sigils you can see.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we decide to run. And obviously in the howler you have the energy so that you can triple dodge, right? Because keep in mind, I mean, they see you coming, they're gonna focus you. I mean, we do. Why? What's this idiot doing? You hear it in comms. You probably have said it in comm. So, Spellbreaker coming in, or this like a mesmer coming in. You could see a portal coming. Well, all right, you're always on the lookout when you know there's danger close. But I'm just trying to show you guys the sigils. It's imperative as you swap weapons. I mean, like any other build, you're looking for as many dodges as you can keep people alive. And sometimes in our guild, we have a few people that they don't get the concept of dodge rolling, and they get yelled at pretty frequently. So it's kind of one of those deals where if you'll just swap weapons, you'll get your third dodge, right? So if I'm camping, hammer, I'm switching to sword and howler, in my case, and basically I'm gonna hit those, and it fills the bar up for energy again for my third dodge, and then I'm gonna continue to use shake it off as it comes off, because of the simple fact of, I mean, I'm in deep shit. I need to get out of there myself. So in order to save yourself, you shake it off and keep on rocking on. So
yeah, and remember, like what I was telling you, the hammer is the key to when you pop your wins, because you're gonna pop your you're gonna do your strip. So you're gonna strip that bubble, that when that wins pops, you're stripping inside that bubble, and every time you use that hammer, you're taking you're stripping 3 boons on top of break enchantments, because when you do that break enchantments, you're stripping boons. So the more boons you can strip, the easier it is to kill the enemy inside that wins. So that's why I always say, when you go into wins and once you pop it, make sure you're in hammer. Either pop to number 3, pop number 4, and then swap weapons, get the hell out.
If you'll also pay attention to is hammer shock also, which is hammer 3 is also one of those, because cripple, right? So it's for 7 seconds, so it doesn't go away if it's not cleaned up, off you quickly. Well, if they're inside the bubble, it's pretty much all over but the crying, because you're denying them boons anyway. So, which is what that's the whole key anyway. So that's part of your job, right? To cripple, to make your DPS players rock stars. You're right. So anyway, I think it's time to kind of open the floor up for any questions you guys might have. I don't know if you do or you don't, but at least we'll give you the opportunity to ask, and I'll try to answer, or Bully can try to answer.
Go ahead, guys. Don't be shy.
It's very simple. It's very easy build.
Can you go over some, like, for example, like boon strip combos? Like if you were, like, besides wins, like I'm like going in and I want to like, boon strip. Like, so what would my combos be?
So I'm gonna drop right over here. I'm gonna drop a wind right here on the heart, right? So as I'm dropping it in here, right, I'm gonna come in there and I'm gonna begin to hammer as much as I can. Right now I don't have enough basically energy built up because I haven't hit anything. But one of the key elements, like I said, breaking enchantments is gonna be your bread and butter. It really is. Because as you hit that, every time it comes up, and every time you hit the full counter over and over and over again, right? Because, I mean, that is your key. That's what you really, really, really want. That's going to be the spam. You're spamming and spamming and spamming, and then you hit your Earthshaker as soon as you can too, right? Which is what you want.
So I think what you're asking is, when you're not popping wins, you want to know what are good rotations, right? So
yeah.
So first, you should always camp your hammer as much as you can. So you're going to be swapping weapons a lot. And the reason I say you swap a lot of weapons, because you need to always be popping Call of Valor, because you're always going to provide either a barrier and resistance, and you're always going to Kandi clear. And then you're going to be popping your number 4, which is the charge. because you always want swiftness on your squad. But it also cures crippled, cures immob. You're gonna use that one, and I think the charge is only every 20 seconds. So every 20 seconds you're gonna swap, but you're gonna camp your hammer the most. As far as combos go, when you're engaging, and it's after your wins and you're mid fight, that's what you want to know, right? Mid fight,
yeah.
Mid fight, you don't want to use your balanced stance until your firebrand calls a low stability. So, like in my squad, for example, my firebrand always says, "Hey, I'm low on stab." Cool. That tells me that I should be, as a mesmer, I use Mantra of Concentration, which gives me stability, and that tells my Spellbreaker that you might want to be popping balanced stance because you're going to be running out of stab here in a second. And that is the key. You do not use your balanced stance during mid fight. Because if you do, and you find yourself, and again, it's all about communication, right? I yell at my firebrands all the time for not communicating. If there's low stab, everyone calls it low stab, and that tells me, hey, I got maybe 2 charges left on my stability, and now my Spellbreaker and myself, we're gonna have to use our charges. The next thing you always want to do is every 15 seconds, you're gonna be popping break enchantments. Again, your job in life in mid fight is to strip as many boons as possible. You're not causing damage. Again, you are a support class. You're providing boons, you're clearing condies in mid fight, and you're stripping. You're a stripper. That's it. In your mind, just think you are stripping. So break enchantments and then shake it off to remove condies. Those are only 2 things you're responsible for mid fight. When your wins is up, you drop your wins. When you get back in a fight, you camp your hammer for CC purposes. So when the commander asks for a knockback or a CC, you have a hammer readily available. If you need a cleanse, and they say, hey, cleanse condies because you're getting overloaded, you'll swap to sword and warhorn, you'll cleanse, go back to hammer. And then again, break enchantments. Because every 15 seconds, you'll be popping it. And if you're like me, in my squad particularly, I have a rev that does alacrity, so then break enchantments becomes even faster. So that alacrity helps out. So then you're constantly popping break enchantments and then shake it off. Those are only 2 skills you're going to be using. Literally in mid fight. You only use balanced stance if your firebrand tells you you're low on stability. That's it. But your job is to use all your CCs from your hammer, swap, cleanse, go back to hammer, and then shake it off, break enchantments. Shake it off, break enchantments. But don't spam shake it off because you do have, I think it's 2 charges?
There's 2 charges.
Yeah. So that's 2 charges. So if your scrapper is having trouble keeping up with the Kandi because you're fighting someone with a bunch of Kandi, then you use it. But honestly, it's only used for backup when you're going in. Like, shake it off is when you're going to pop your wins and you're about to get obliterated because they're going to Kandi load you, and you need to pop a heal and you need a cleanse. That's your survivor button for when I need wins. Does that kind of make sense?
And
thanks for going over that.
And also the benefit of if you didn't use leap going in, you should probably try to use it if you're surrounded by massive damage around you. Use it to get out. I mean, you can use it either way, offensively, defensively, for your escape. I mean, you can be creative with it, so long as you get out. And I mean, your commander is going to get upset if he constantly loses Spellbreakers that are built like tanks, which is what you're built for. Minstrel, it's tanks, right? I mean, that's what you're built to take damage, but you're also built to get out of it, not just be an easy target and it's an easy kill. And that's the whole important part to know, because people are counting on you. I in squad chat I put benevolence, right? So you can get up to a stack of 25 of that. So even though it's a small heal, it's just coming alongside your healers to hook you up, right? You're hooking your whole party up.
What kind of utility are you using? Like the heal one?
Yeah, that's all the mint garnish.
Right. So
garnish, and then
why not Sigil of Life then?
Because the specs, because you want the extra outgoing heal and the healing power. Because when we
use for Spellbreaker, that's the food that I use.
This is your survivability is.
Wasn't Sigil of Life the one that stacks up healing power though? Am I mistake. I mean the one that stacks up to 250 healing.
Yeah, no,
That's
because
great.
see, the mint garnish outputs 10% more healing. You really want that.
Right, no, I mean the utility. Are you
He's
using...
talking
The utility. Oh, that's fierce maintenance oil. You want to gain the healing power equal to 3% of your precision.
Oh, okay,
And-
okay. So
yeah,
you're
gain
using it out of
concentration.
precision. Okay.
Yep. So you gain
Very
concentration equal to 3% of your precision. Gain healing power equal to 3% of your precision.
Okay.
That's the fierce maintenance oil.
Right, okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was
that
thinking food. You said utility. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's furious.
Yeah.
I blacked out. Where am I?
Okay.
There we go.
Hey, I'll kick you out of Discord, buddy. Keep
Yeah.
it up. So that's kind of the gist of it. I mean, there's not a whole bunch to it. There's really not. It's probably one of the funner class to play. I know a lot of people just to kind of see just how much you can really tank. I mean, it really is kind of incredible to see the when you're getting flat out kicked in the face, you know, and somehow you still get out on the backside of it. It's kind of interesting
Yep.
to watch.
So just for a quick recap, so everyone's on the same page. So at the end of the day, you're responsible for the wins is your priority, right? Positioning with wins. We talked about that. Second part is when you're in mid fight, all your camping is hammer, and then you're swapping when there needs to be a cleanse or you need to provide swiftness, or if you got a blast stealth. That's it. Okay. Also, while you're in mid fight, all you're going to use is shake it off and break enchantments. That's it. Stability. If your stab is going low, you'll pop stability. And then obviously to the limit is only used when you're down in health and your squad is not dodge rolling and they need more endurance. But that's pretty much it. You're only using 2 skills here, and then your hammer camping in mid fight. That's pretty much it. Any other scenarios you guys think of that we can discuss that you guys need help on, or?
I guess the only other one is sort of stealth bombing. How to position the bubble that's there.
So that's on the commander. So, all right. So I'll put the marker up. So let's say green arrows where the Zerg is at, and we're coming out of this bridge, and let's pretend it's an open field. So when we're stealthing, I'll call the stealth, and once I call stealth, my Spellbreaker, which is typically Bulveith, will be ready, or it'll be Diz. She'll be looking at the field, and depending on the situation of what position are coming, I like to go behind them at all times. I predict a fight. I predict when I engage, because I'm an aggressive player, when I go in left and I'm going towards there, I'm going to push forward, dodge roll, and then my Spellbreaker, by the time we get out of stealth, will have the first bubble on heart. Because what I'm doing is I'm forcing them. If I go right, they're going to go left. They're gonna fight across from me. So this is really on you, Stoich. So if you position yourself the right way, and let's say I'm standing here, I already know based off where they're going to be fighting, they're going to peel back and go around, which means heart is where they're going to go peel back. So essentially what they're going to do, if I'm facing this way and they're coming at me, I'm going to dodge roll back and reposition myself. And while they're repositioning, they're going to run into the first wins, which would be right here. That's how you read it. Now, if it's the opposite, then let's pretend the green arrow it is, and I'm gonna come from the right side, okay, and then I'm gonna start pushing left. What people usually do is they'll either mirror you going this way, or they'll fall back the other way. So if they start to mirror me, my Spellbreaker will then, in front of them, their push would drop the winds right there, and they're gonna walk right into that winds. It's all positioning. You got to read the fight. So like any guild that I fight, if they start to strafe towards me and we're just staring at each other and we're shifting left and we continue to shift, the first winds will come out as they're shifting and they're going to walk right into it. If we're playing the kite game and we're just ranging, then my Spellbreaker is going to leap to the left or right and get behind them on green or on purple, because we're just playing the range game. And once that winds is ready, I'll say go ahead and pop it, and then we're going to engage super speed roads, and then we just spike, because we're forcing them. This is how you control the fight as a tag, because once you control that wins, then they're going to run right into it. It's all about positioning. You got to make sure that your Spellbreaker is semi-smart. You want your best Spellbreaker to pop the first wins, because if you can't get them to pop the first wins, your fight's over, unless you can really recover. The second, third, fourth, it's okay. It could be whatever I want it to be. you don't need good Spellbreakers for the middle, but you need the clutch one. So Bulveith is usually the last person to drop his Spellbreak or drop his wins, because that's when the fight's almost over. Does that kind of make sense? So your wins are determined how you're fighting your opponent. So again, if you're going head on, you want your Spellbreaker to go behind them, because they're going to dodge roll back your bomb. Because you're going to do a little shade bomb in the front, and you're going to shade on green arrow. That's what most people do, right? They drop shades and reflex, and then you're going to push forward, and then they're going to dodge roll back to avoid your bomb. And when they do dodge roll back, well, guess what? They're dodge rolling right into that wins, and then you're going to counter forward and spike. Okay? Does that kind of make sense? And if you're going left or right, and they're just following your lead like this, then you're going to drop it to the front of them as they're strafing left or right. Literally, that's how I do it every single time. Like, anywhere they run into, I'm going to have a wins right into them. So if we're going right, they're going to run into this eventually, and my Spellbreaker is going to be on a mount and get ready to position. And once I say, hey, drop your wins, bam, and we spike right in it. We do a pull. You'll see a Mesmer pull in there. I drop my strips, and I just drop my Gravwells. And then I'll be able to have 5 to 6 people in there, spike dead.
And the other side is too is like as he's pushing. So what I'll do is like if I know he's got markers down like this, right? So I know he's going to push. At some point, he's going to push purple, right? So what I'm going to try to do is help him, right? So there's nothing wrong with doing this either, right? So you want your additional Spellbreakers to kind of read the fight too and learn, right? This is how you get experience. So if I set a bubble here, they're going to dodge roll back, right? So guess what I've done though? I've taken half the field away from them, right? So there's only 2 options they have. They can't go right anymore. I've denied. Okay, I don't know what this freaking flame job is doing, but all right, whatever.
Are you getting pulled?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Jason, by the way.
I don't know. That's great. You can ask Freddy Krueger too. Fuck him. I don't care. Anyway, so my point is basically you're funneling them right into a channel, which is what you want. And there's nothing wrong with per se, so long as the commander knows, hey, I want to set the choke here to the left, right? So if I cut off the right angle, there's only 2 options they now have. They can only go left or back. So now I can focus my Spellbreakers in this bomb area, generally, unless they go around the right side, which basically it's fine. But it's just basically channeling where your bomb's going to be and guessing where they're going to be. And I say guessing because there's a lot more to it. It's kind of an art, right? You got to really kind of pay attention to what's going on, because as they stealth, right, as you stealth, you're camped already. The only time you're not in a hammer is when you're stealthing, healing, something along those lines. So when we stealth right now on Bully or whatever, I'm hitting 4 and 5. I'm giving it a double blast, okay? Because that way we can stealth even longer. So that's the key emphasis. Then I'm going straight back to hammer again, right? And now we're gonna rock and roll. Or if I want to get in somewhere quickly, I can leap in there or whatever. But that's the whole thing. You're just funneling people into where your damage is and where you aren't. Because guess what? That's the whole thing. I mean, if you can inflict more pain on them, they'll quit, which is what you want. So that's kind of the whole kit and caboodle, man. That's the whole picture of Spellbreaker. It's not really
it comes down to tag awareness on movements, and then you guys as Spellbreakers positioning yourself to drop that wins in the right spot. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. It happens. That's why you have backups. But the first one is critical, because the first one is going to be the make or break, and it'll determine how the fight goes. If your wins is successful and you're able to kill 5 to 6 to 10, then guess what? The rest of the fight's going to be easy. It's a matter of out-sustaining them and just finishing them off. If your wins is shit, like I've had a couple days ago, then you're going to lose a fight because you blew all your eggs in one basket and you kind of screwed yourself. So just be smart around who your Spellbreaker is and how their positioning is. Because if they can't get the wins out, it's going to be a make or break if you start using wins.
All right. So in terms of composition, you're basically running mostly 3 support, 2 DPS. Then I'm guessing, because you're saying 3 Spellbreakers for 20. That's pretty much 1 chrono in there. That's pretty much 3. Yeah. 3 2.
Yep. So 3 for every 20. It's probably the best way of doing it. You'll sacrifice 3 DPS, but what you're gaining is the ability to deny them boons and the CC aspect.
Right.
and then your sustain is much better because you have someone who could actually cleanse.
We do have room for more DPS because we have been running pretty much everything.
Yeah, if you're running heavy DPS and you don't have enough support, I mean, if it works for you, it works.
No. We've been running Marauders on everything pretty much.
Gotcha.
Start, as we're kind of brand new, 3 months in, so we're still working on our composition and things like that. So we've gone with more support for that reason, and we've been running 2-3 mostly. So I guess as we can start increasing the DPS output from our DPS players, then we can go to 3-2 as well. Okay.
Yeah, sustain is good because like we just had our Firebrand training a couple weeks ago, and I mean when we first started 15 years ago, dude, this guild's 15 years old. That's the crazy part since Guild Wars 1. But anyway, I'm an old man, not old. 42 is not old. Anyway, we practice sustain first.
Kids now.
There you go. I know, right? But sustain is the first thing we train because if you have no sustain, you can't fight. So if you're gonna practice sustain, great. Put more sustain. Just be able to take a bomb, then you learn.
That's been the sort of the rationale going with more sustain oriented builds to begin with. And
because once you evolve and everyone can take a hit, then providing or outputting DPS will be easier. Because then you'll be able to output DPS and have survivability.
Okay. Anybody else have questions?
Yeah. Anything you guys need, just let us know. We're always here to help. Like I want this community to grow. I want you guys to be successful, and I want you guys to beat the shit out of us one day.
Mm-hmm.
That's one day.
Not too soon. All right. Thanks for this. It really is appreciated.
Glad to help, man. Glad to help. And like I said, if you guys need anything, just say something. We'll come back.
Let us know if you need training for any other class. Like I have class leads for every class that we use. So if you guys need it, let us know.
It's one of the things that we need to develop over time, and this is why I've been sort of reaching out.
For sure.
Outside of the guild, trying to get in, mostly try to get people that have played classes for years, because they can bring in sort of knowledge that might not necessarily be applicable right now, that was applicable earlier, but it's a thing that you can be aware, and when things change, you can think back to it and reuse it, right? And you can adapt a lot better when things are happening. You can adjust while the fights are happening, recognize what's happening. And that takes time. It's more longer term, but overall, it's what makes the difference between quality and just imitation.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you guys for having us, and we'll see you guys on the field.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Yeah,
anytime you guys want to kick me out of Discord again, you just go right ahead.
Hopefully she won't do that again.
You guys take care. Have a great night, and we'll see you guys on the field.
Have a good one.
Oh, take care.
Thanks.